Hey guys, I have another exciting versus video for you here today. Insta360 is on the scene with their new action camera, which is the Ace Pro 2. In today's video, I want to show you a comparison of the Ace Pro 2 versus the GoPro HERO 13 Black to help you decide which of these action cameras would be better for you. I'm going to show you some of the settings available on these cameras, how the cameras perform, and at the end I'll show you some special features that each of these cameras have to see which one entices you. By the way, I'm so honored and happy to hear that you've gotten so much help from my action camera books that I've written for you guys. Thank you for all of your feedback. My goal for all of you is to get the most out of these powerful little action cameras. So let's get started. First, let's just take a look at the cameras themselves because they're actually quite different even though they look very similar. This is the Ace Pro 2 and this is the GoPro HERO 13 Black. When you look at the cameras side by side, you'll notice the Ace Pro 2 is a little bit thicker, taller, and a little heavier than the GoPro HERO 13 Black. That little extra weight and size is really going to make the most difference for you if you're wearing your camera in a position where you can really feel that weight, say on a helmet mount or in a mouth mount, for example. But there are definitely some specific needs where people are looking for smaller action cameras, and in that scenario, the GoPro HERO 13 Black is a smaller action camera. With the extra size of the Ace Pro though, you get some features that are not available on the HERO 13 Black. One of the most important differences that I want to show you straight out of the gates are the screens on the two cameras, because these are going to make a huge difference in how you film. On the GoPro HERO 13 Black, there's a front and a back touchscreen, and on the Ace Pro, there's this back touchscreen here, and the front screen is just a display screen. So what's convenient about the GoPro HERO 13 is you can film with it like this, you can see the screen, but when you flip it around, you can also see on the front screen, just like that, without adjusting anything. However, on the Ace Pro 2, you have this back screen here that's going to show a nice big image of what you're filming, and if you flip it around, it only shows settings. But what's really convenient about this touchscreen, and some of you will really like this, especially for like vlog shots or real cinematic shots, is you can flip this touchscreen up and then you can see what you're filming. Even if your camera's at a low angle, for example, you can look at that screen and see, instead of on the GoPro, you're pretty much guessing what you're filming, or you have to get really low to see the back of that screen. The only time it really gets a little tricky is when you're filming something else and then you want to cut to yourself and you got to flip that screen up while you're filming. But that is one of the kind of inconveniences of it, even though there's more benefits, I'd say, than there are negatives of this touchscreen. Also, if you're out in heavy action and you might fall on the screen, it's pretty durable, but I wouldn't leave it up if you might fall on it just because you don't want that screen to get damaged. Both cameras also have removable lens covers, so if you damage that, you can replace it really easily. And also on the physical camera, I thought I'd show you while we're here, the Ace Pro 2 has this new windproof microphone. So this is just a removable microphone cover here, and you can take that off if you're going in the water, for example, because there's foam on the inside. So you don't want to take that in the water. You just put on the other cover that they give you. But that's going to get really good audio in high wind environments, and I'll show you some more examples of that when we look at the video footage side by side. Now that you've taken a look at those cameras side by side, let's take a look at some footage, because obviously the footage is really the most important part. When I show you these side by side comparisons of the footage, always put the Ace Pro 2 footage on the left and the GoPro HERO 13 footage on the right, just so you know which one you're looking at. So what should you be looking for as you look at these comparisons? After filming tons with both of these cameras, I've noticed two main differences between the cameras that I really want you to look for as you watch these. The first quality to look for is the colors in these different videos. Specifically, the skin tones I've noticed are really different between the two cameras, and also the blues, as in the skies and in the water. The second thing to look for is the dynamic range, and this is just going to define basically the balance of the bright areas and the dark areas and how well of a balanced image it creates. To me, these are the most noticeable differences, but of course look for yourself and see what you notice as you watch these videos and see which one you like. Also, now would be a great time to subscribe to my channel so you can learn about the best tips and tricks for all of these action cameras. We've got tons of great videos up and more coming. So hit that subscribe button, and now let's check out the settings for these two cameras. When it comes to resolution, the highest resolution the Ace Pro 2 has is 8K video, and the GoPro HERO 13 Black records in 5.3K video. So you're gonna get a larger image with the Ace Pro 2. And I'll zoom in really close on some of these high resolution videos just to show you the quality difference between the two cameras to let you decide which one looks better. So even though the Ace Pro records at 8K video, it only records at 30 frames per second. And a lot of the features that are really beneficial to the Ace Pro 2 are not available in 8K. So most of the time, you're really gonna wanna record using that 4K resolution. When you're recording cinematic or action shots, a lot of times you're gonna wanna record at 60 frames per second, so you have the option for slow motion. So I'm gonna compare some videos at 60 frames per second, which can be recorded at 5.3K on the HERO 13 Black or at 4K on the Ace Pro 2. One of the features you should take note of on the Ace Pro 2 at 4K at 60 frames per second is active HDR. And this works really well just for your general filming. So most of these comparisons, I used active HDR, and it's different than the HDR on the GoPro HERO 13, which I'll compare later and show you guys an example of those. When it comes to even slower motion, both cameras record at 4K at 120 frames per second, so you can get some really nice, smooth slow motion on both of these cameras. The GoPro HERO 13 also has this burst video mode, which allows you to record short stints of really high frame rate video. When it comes to field of view, both of these cameras have lots of options, from a super wide field of view down to a more narrow or linear field of view. For most of the shots here, I'm going to use wide on the HERO 13 Black and the new Mega field of view on the Ace Pro 2, just because I feel like they're the most comparable, even though the Mega is a little bit wider angle on the Ace Pro 2. And the GoPro does have a wider field of view, but you get a little bit more of a fisheye effect as you go wider. Both cameras do have some digital zoom. The HERO 13 has this touch zoom feature, but I don't really recommend using it because you're kind of cropping in on the image and losing some video quality. Whereas on the Ace Pro 2, because it records in 8K, you can use that clarity zoom in 4K, and it's actually going to zoom in 2 times, and you're not losing any resolution. The Ace Pro 2 has tons of great features, and I've heard a lot of feedback from you guys who have bought my books about how helpful it is to actually understand these features and how it can really change your filming. And I feel like the clarity zoom is one of those features that can really change how you film. When it comes to aspect ratio, the GoPro HERO 13 Black can record in an 8:7 aspect ratio, which is taller than the 4:3 aspect ratio on the Ace Pro 2. Now this is going to be really helpful sometimes to get more of the top and bottom in the scene, and it's really helpful for those POV shots. When it comes to stabilization, both of these cameras have amazing stabilization. The GoPro HERO 13 has auto boost, which is going to auto stabilize your shots and kind of crop in more as you film, whereas there's a high setting on the Ace Pro 2. And both of these are going to give you really smooth videos as you record. Okay, the next feature I want to talk about is horizon leveling and horizon lock. And I've showed you guys a lot about how to use this in my books to really get the best videos, because this is a really amazing feature of these action cameras. The main difference between horizon leveling and horizon lock is that with horizon leveling, the camera is going to rotate once it reaches a certain degree, usually around 45 degrees. Whereas with horizon lock, you can rotate your camera a full 360 degrees, and that horizon is going to stay level in your videos. The main difference between the two cameras is the settings that it's available in. On the Ace Pro 2, you can do horizon leveling and horizon lock at 4K at 30 frames per second, so you can't really do it with slow motion. However, on the HERO 13, you can do it in the camera at 4K at 60 frames per second for even that full 360 horizon lock. If you do want to use 4K at 60 frames per second on the Ace Pro 2, you can use the free frame video mode, which allows you to do that, but you have to process it in Insta360's app first, and there is a little bit of a diminished quality of the video when you use that mode. So the HERO 13 does have an advantage when it comes to horizon leveling and horizon lock. So most of those videos I've shown you so far have been in daylight hours. When it comes to low light scenes, such as filming in the evening or at night, the Ace Pro has a huge advantage over the HERO 13. It's got a larger sensor. That larger sensor and the dual processing chip, they actually added another chip inside of the Ace Pro 2 that's gonna take care of that denoising and those low light images. And you can see in the side-by-side comparisons that when it gets really dark, the Ace Pro 2 definitely picks up a lot more of that dark area and actually brings in some light, creating a scene that you can actually film at night. If you film in really dark scenes though, I feel like the denoising gets sometimes a bit extreme. So you don't want to go in just super dark scenes, especially close-ups of yourself. But those scenic shots and cruising around a city at night or something, the Ace Pro 2 is going to have a huge advantage over the HERO 13. Also on the Ace Pro 2, when you're recording in pure video mode, which is used for recording at night, you can record in 4K at 60 frames per second. So typically in low light scenes, such as at night, you're going to record in a lower frame rate and not have the option for slow motion. However, on the Ace Pro 2, you can record those scenes and get some nice cinematic slow motion even in those night shots. I do have a video up on my channel for the Ace Pro talking about that pure video mode that's made for filming in those low light scenes. So you can check that out if you want some more tips, and I'll be sure to add some more videos specifically about the Ace Pro 2 also. Both cameras produce some great in-camera audio. They both have wind reduction, and they do pretty well in the wind. However, the Ace Pro 2 does have this windproof microphone. I'll give you an example now, but there's a little bit of foam in there. It's gonna be like a foam windscreen basically on the camera here. It's gonna really cut down that wind noise. Let's go out into the wind and take a look at this audio and see how it handles. I'm gonna test the audio on both of these cameras because it's really windy out here right now. I'll put a little audio symbol on the audio that you're listening to just so you can see the comparison of this wind guard on the Ace Pro 2 versus the standard microphone on the GoPro HERO 13 Black. And this is the audio with no wind with the voice priority setting on both of the cameras, just so you can hear a realistic audio of what it sounds like when it's not blasting Maui wind. I think a lot of us like to use these action cameras underwater. Both cameras are waterproof without an additional case, so you can use it just like this in the water. If you want to go deeper, both cameras have a protective housing. You can go down to 196 feet deep for those deeper dives. The Ace Pro 2 also has this underwater mode here. So if you tap on this icon here, that's going to put it straight into underwater mode, fix the distortion, and just give you better colors underwater. When it comes to color options, the Hero 13 Black has 10-bit color. The Ace Pro 2 only has 8-bit color, although you'll still notice the colors are really nice out of the Ace Pro 2. There are also some different color profiles on both of these cameras. And the Ace Pro 2 does have some Leica color profiles, which are really nice because they have this Leica lens on here. So they match those with Leica. So you can get some nice colors on either of these cameras straight out of the camera. As far as HDR, like I mentioned before, the Ace Pro 2 has that active HDR that you can just record almost all the time when you're recording in 4K at 60 frames per second. The GoPro Hero 13 Black has a couple different HDR options, such as regular HDR, but I don't find that it's as useful as the active HDR on the Ace Pro 2. But there is also an HLG HDR, which is true HDR, and it's going to display really nicely on those HDR monitors. As far as other modes, the Ace Pro 2 takes 50 megapixel photos and the Hero 13 can do 27 megapixel photos. Both of them are going to look really good out of either of these cameras. They both also have some night lapse modes, such as star trails, vehicle lights, and light painting on the Hero 13 Black, whereas there's the star lapse mode on the Ace Pro 2, which it can get you some similar effects, not quite the same as the light painting or vehicle lights, but you can get some nice star lapse using that, and also some vehicle lights if you really tap into those different features. Now let's just talk about the camera performance. How do these cameras actually work when you're out there filming? As far as battery life goes, I tested out these cameras at 4K at 60 frames per second, and I was actually really surprised that every time the GoPro Hero 13 Black got a longer battery life than the Ace Pro 2. When it comes to recharging though, the Ace Pro 2 has quick charging, so it charges much quicker, and it also has reverse charging, so if you have battery on your Ace Pro 2 and you need to charge another device, you can actually charge that other device using your Ace Pro 2. As far as overheating goes, the Ace Pro 2 definitely can record longer without overheating than the GoPro, but if you're recording with your camera up off the table, off the ground, for example with some airflow around it, both of these cameras can record a full battery life at 4K 60 without overheating. So I don't find overheating as much of an issue unless you're sitting inside and you're in a certain environment where there's just no airflow. The Ace Pro 2 is definitely going to be better for you in that type of environment. If you're into adding overlays and stats, the Hero 13 has GPS built in, so you can add those stats directly to your videos. The Ace Pro 2 doesn't have it built in, but you can connect it to the Insta360 app and get all the stats as you film if you're connected to the app, or you can add the GPS remote, and that's going to add GPS stats to your videos. Now let's talk about some of the special features that each of these cameras has independently from each other. The Ace Pro 2 is definitely packed with features. They've got a separate dash cam mode. There's that pure video mode I told you about for recording videos at night. They've also got gesture control, so you can start and stop recording with a gesture. If you're out traveling, there's AI highlights where you can highlight a portion of the clip so you don't have to edit the whole clip. You can just have a little portion of that clip. I will have a video for you guys showing some of these time-saving travel features of the Ace Pro, just so when you're out there traveling, you can save some time. And that'll be coming out soon, so be sure to stay tuned to my channel for that one. The Hero 13 also has some really nice features. And one of the things that I really do think is nice about the Hero 13 is basically whatever you film or create happens in the camera. They've done a really good job at just creating it in the camera so you don't have to use the app to process anything. GoPro also came out with some really nice lenses for the Hero 13 that are add-on lenses. And they have a smart sensor on here, so when you put the lens on, it automatically detects it, and you can save presets for that lens. I found that to be really convenient. And if you're into macro photography, you can use that macro lens for up close shots, or that ultra wide angle for a really nice horizon lock with a wide angle perspective. Both cameras are compatible with their respective apps. Insta360 has a mobile app and also a desktop app with a lot of editing tools and some automatic edits. For example, it's a really thorough app that works really well. And GoPro has the GoPro Quick app, which is for mobile only. There is a Mac version, but there's no Windows version. For mobile, you can actually upload your videos to cloud storage, so they have that benefit. But there aren't as many editing tools in the GoPro Quick app as Insta360 has in their app. But both of those apps can be used for a live view through your camera, so you can control your camera remotely using those apps. And as far as the big factor, which is price, it's not really a factor at all because both of these cameras cost $399 for just the camera itself. As you guys know, I've always been a big GoPro fan. I'm impressed with the quality and just the cameras themselves. However, with the Ace Pro 2, I have been really impressed, and I find myself oftentimes going to grab this camera over this one. So it really depends on what you're filming. Both of them are great cameras. Whichever camera you do choose, I've got a super helpful book for either of these cameras. It's gonna show you all of the features because clearly I couldn't cover all of them in this video. They're just packed with features. They're amazing little cameras, and I hope you guys have fun with them. If you haven't picked up a camera yet, be sure to pick it up in the link below and have fun out there filming. Thank you guys so much for watching.